For our third wedding anniversary, my husband gave the limited edition Christian Louboutin heels he promised me to his new secretary. Before Carter went on his business trip, he casually asked me what I wanted. I smiled and said, "I heard they just released a limited edition pump at the boutique over there. Could you get them for me?" He agreed without hesitation. He even asked for my exact size and color preference. That night, my personal shopper, Luna, sent me a text on iMessage. Sienna, your husband just picked up the heels. He is seriously the best husband ever. So sweet. 3 days later, Carter came home and handed me a cheap keychain. He kissed the top of my head and sighed. "Sorry, babe. Those heels were completely out of stock. I'll get them for you next time." I didn't call him out on his lie, because just a minute ago, his new secretary had posted a picture on her Instagram. On her feet were the exact limited edition Louboutins I had been waiting for. I stepped back, avoiding Carter's embrace, and spoke calmly. "Carter, let's get a divorce." Carter froze, looking at me in utter disbelief. "Sienna, you're joking, right? It's just a pair of shoes. You want a divorce over a pair of shoes?" My expression didn't change. I just asked him directly. Were they really out of stock? Carter frowned, still sticking to his lie. "They're limited edition. It's normal for them to sell out. Can't I just buy you something else?" I was silent for 2 seconds. Then, I held my phone up to his face. On Instagram, his newly hired secretary, Haley Miller, had posted a selfie showing off the heels. The caption read, "Shout out to the best boss ever. He got me these beauties on his business trip. How do I even repay him? Maybe I'll have to marry him." Winking face, red heart. Looking at the post, Carter's face didn't even twitch. Instead, he took my phone and placed it face down on the coffee table. "Young girls just talk like that nowadays. It's just an exaggeration. Stop throwing a tantrum. It's just a pair of shoes. I'll buy you a more expensive pair next time, okay?" As he spoke, he tried to pull me into his arms again. He rested his chin on my head. Giving the secretary a pair of shoes makes her work harder. It's just business. You're the boss's wife, Sienna. Why are you acting so jealous over a little girl? I pushed Carter away again. My voice remained steady and firm. I said I want a divorce. The warmth instantly drained from Carter's face. "Sienna, it's just a pair of shoes. Do you have to be this dramatic? Is there nothing else in your head besides those stupid shoes? Besides, look at your closet. Don't you have enough shoes already?" With that, he walked straight upstairs. "I just got back from an international flight. I'm exhausted. Don't disturb me." I didn't stop him. Instead, I picked up my phone again. Sure enough, within 3 minutes, Haley's post was deleted. But she posted a new one on Snapchat. Some people are just so petty. Instead of reflecting on why they didn't get a gift, they just get jealous of others. She should look at her own age before eyeing things meant for younger girls. Faced with rolling eyes, Carter had already liked the post. Someone in the comments asked her what happened. She replied sarcastically, "Nothing much. I'm just a straight shooter. I guess I accidentally offended some bitter old woman." People kept joining the thread, guessing who the old woman was. As the drama escalated, Haley left another comment, pretending to be the victim. Jealous, fake, and hate seeing younger girls succeed. Suddenly, the comment section went quiet, like someone had pressed pause. A colleague who was close to me commented, "Haley, isn't it wrong to spread rumors like this? Sienna literally buys everyone in the office holiday gifts out of her own pocket. You took her husband's gift, and now you're mocking her behind her back? That's low." Haley replied instantly, "What rumors? Did I name anyone? She bought you off with a few cheap gifts, and you forgot who actually signs your paychecks? I'm just a blunt person. If anyone has a problem, they can come face me. Don't send your little minions to do your dirty work." "I'm not scared," I replied directly under her comment. "Well, I guess having the boss back you up makes you feel real brave. Very tough talk." Right after I posted that, her story was deleted. Then my phone buzzed. It was a WhatsApp message from Carter. "Stop being so petty. You're a grown woman. Bullying a young girl with your office friends is embarrassing. If this gets out, what will people think of our company?" I texted back, "I thought you were sleeping." He didn't reply. During the weekly meeting the next morning, Carter suddenly walked into the conference room with Haley. Dozens of employees looked up at the same time. Carter announced, "Some things happened last night. Some inappropriate comments were made, which brought a negative impact to the company." Haley didn't want to make a big deal out of it. But since my wife was involved, as part of the management team, we must lead by example and show zero tolerance for workplace harassment. Sienna apologized to Haley. My gaze bypassed Haley, whose eyes were red and watery, and landed straight on Carter's self-righteous face. "So because I'm your wife, she can throw dirt at me, and anyone who speaks up for me is part of a bullying campaign led by me?" Carter pinched the bridge of his nose. He looked deeply frustrated, as if he were dealing with a spoiled child. "Sienna, don't twist my words. Haley's post didn't name you. She didn't mean it that way. Then what did she mean? I didn't back down an inch. Suddenly, Haley started sobbing. It's fine, Carter. My justice as a low-level employee doesn't matter. Please don't fight with your wife because of me. After saying that, she turned to run out. I stepped in her way. Carter can't explain it, so you tell me. What did you mean? Don't go crying later that people are targeting you again. Haley looked as if she had been deeply insulted. Big tears began to roll down her cheeks. She took a step back and bowed deeply to me. I'm sorry, Sienna. It's my fault. I shouldn't have posted that. I'm just a very blunt person. It's just like when I see a hot male celebrity on TV. I can't help but gush about how he's my type. I have a big mouth. I shouldn't have posted that. Please be the bigger person and don't hold it against me. Her voice cracked. In the end, she ran out of the room crying. Carter tried to stop her but failed. He shot me a look of pure disappointment. Then he turned and ran after her. The employees who witnessed the whole scene kept their heads down. The conference room was deathly quiet. I opened my presentation slides. Let's continue the meeting. As soon as those words left my mouth, everyone let out a collective sigh of relief. When I returned to my office, there was a knock on my door. It was the HR manager. He looked incredibly uncomfortable. Sienna, have you seen the company announcement? I pulled out my phone and opened the WhatsApp work group. A termination notice was pinned at the top. The reason? Leading a workplace bullying campaign against an employee and causing severe reputational damage to the company. Just as I finished reading it, the HR manager whispered, Carter is upstairs. He signaled me to go up and talk to him. I took the elevator to the top floor. The moment the elevator doors opened, Haley blocked my way. Her freshly touched up makeup showed no trace of tears or distress. Carter said he's not seeing anyone today. Besides, you've been fired. Please leave on your own. Don't make me call security to escort you out. It won't look good. I looked at the smugness in her eyes. I took out my phone and texted Carter. Do you really have to do this? He replied instantly. Mistakes have consequences. Apologize to Haley, and we can pretend this never happened. Don't forget, this is my company. We signed a prenup. Whether you work here or not is entirely up to me. Haley leaned over, trying to peek at my screen. The triumph on her face was undeniable. Sienna, I won't make things hard for you. If you truly want to apologize, just write a public apology letter and pin it on the company board. I gave her a cold look, turned around, and walked back downstairs. As soon as I reached the underground parking lot, my assistant, Maya, who had spoken up for me the night before, ran up to me panting. Sienna, if you're leaving, I'm quitting too. But before I go, there's something you need to see. She handed me her phone. It was Haley's private Instagram account. Last month, she had posted a picture of a candlelit dinner at a high-end rooftop restaurant. 2 hands were clasped together. The caption, candlelit dinner with my favorite person. That night, Carter had told me he was out dining with a client. July 23rd. A photo of a man kneeling down to slip a high heel onto her foot. That day, he also claimed to be visiting a client. And the day before Carter's business trip. The exact day I had asked him to buy me those shoes. Haley had posted, if she wants it, would you give it to me instead? Under that post, Carter had commented, I'd give you the world. I couldn't help but let out a cold laugh. Out of stock. Sold out. It was all a lie. And that Instagram post from yesterday wasn't an accident. It was Haley's deliberate provocation. I glanced at the WhatsApp group chat. Carter had posted my termination notice 30 minutes ago. I handed the phone back to Maya, thanked her, and drove home. That night, Carter didn't come home. I texted him. We need to talk. No reply. It was like this for the next few days. He acted like he had forgotten he had a home, forgotten he was married. While Carter ignored me, Haley's Instagram was constantly active. One sweet, romantic post after another. They looked like a couple in the honeymoon phase. A few nights later, while I was applying a face mask, Carter finally came home. As he tossed his coat onto the rack, 2 concert tickets fell out of his pocket. Noticing my gaze, Carter spoke coldly. An employee was wronged. I had to compensate her. He didn't specify which employee, and I didn't ask what kind of compensation required a boss to stay out for days. Carter, we need to talk. Sienna, I need to ask you for a favor. We spoke at the same time, then fell into silence. I gestured to him. You first. Carter cleared his throat. About what happened the other day? I know you feel wronged. But Haley is different from you. Even if you lose your job, you don't have to worry about money. You're still my wife. But Haley is a working girl. She needs this job, and she needs to maintain her authority at the office. So you used me to establish her authority? Hearing my question, Carter sighed. Sienna, can you stop being so hostile towards her? Didn't you used to tell me how hard it is for women in the corporate world? You've been through it. Why are you making things hard for another struggling woman now? Can't you be more generous? Honestly, I didn't know how much more generous I could possibly be. I peeled off my face mask. My voice was dead calm. Get to the point. I don't want to waste my time. Carter ignored my cold tone. Haley is the new head of the PR department now. Tomorrow, she and I are attending a charity gala. She doesn't have any suitable jewelry. Lend her your vintage emerald set to help her save face. I narrowed my eyes. I studied Carter's face closely. Do you know that I am also attending that gala tomorrow? Carter stared at me, his hand halfway back into his trouser pocket, his eyebrows pulling into a faint, irritated knot. You. He let out a brief, dry laugh that sounded like paper scraping across stone. Sienna, don't be ridiculous. The Astor Foundation Gala is strictly limited to corporate sponsors and board trustees. I bought our corporate table under the company name, and as CEO, I decide who sits there. You were terminated from the management team yesterday. If you show up, where are you going to sit? By the catering trays? I leaned back against the plush velvet armchair of our master bedroom, gently smoothing the silk lapels of my robe. My voice remained completely level. Is that what you think? I don't think, Sienna, I know. He stepped closer, leaning over me with that tall, imposing posture he used whenever he wanted to bulldoze a negotiation at work. Listen to me. Haley is representing our public image now. She needs to look the part. The elite women at that gala are sharks. They'll eat a young girl alive if she walks in wearing cubic zirconia from a department store. Your grandmother left you that vintage Cartier emerald necklace and the matching drop earrings. They've been sitting in the safe for 2 years gathering dust. Let Haley borrow them for 4 hours. It's an investment in the company's prestige. An investment? I repeated, tasting the word. You want my dead grandmother's heirloom, the one my mother passed to me on my wedding day, draped around the neck of the girl you're sleeping with so she can save face while you introduce her as your new front-facing executive. Carter's face hardened instantly. The mask of reasonable patience cracked, exposing the raw, ugly arrogance beneath. Stop with the accusations, he snapped, slamming his palm against the mahogany dresser. I am trying to run a multi-million-dollar tech firm, and you are acting like a bitter, jealous housewife. If you don't give me the combination to the inner vault, I'll have a locksmith drill it open tomorrow morning while you're at the gym. Don't test me, Sienna. Under our prenuptial agreement, any personal property brought into the house without a registered third-party trust receipt is subject to joint marital use. Is that what your corporate attorney told you? I asked softly, tilting my head. That's what the law says, he sneered, turning toward the adjoining bathroom. Have the jewelry case on the kitchen counter by noon tomorrow. And do yourself a favor. Don't embarrass yourself by trying to gatecrash the Astor Hall. Security has orders to turn away anyone not on the verified digital register. The bathroom door slammed shut. A moment later, the shower began to run. I stood up, walked over to my vanity, and picked up my personal phone. I opened my WhatsApp and dialed a direct, unlisted number that Carter didn't even know existed. The line rang once before a crisp, aristocratic voice answered. Sienna, darling. We were wondering when you'd call. Your father saw the termination notice Carter posted on LinkedIn this morning. He was ready to pull the venture line before breakfast. Tell Dad to hold off until 8 tomorrow evening, Julian, I said calmly to my older brother. Let Carter take his little secretary to the red carpet first. I want every camera in the tri-state area pointed at them when the trap springs. Julian chuckled, a low predatory sound. The venue is already prepped, little sister. The Astor Foundation belongs to our family trust anyway. You are the keynote sponsor. What are you wearing? Red. I replied, looking at my reflection in the gilded mirror. Deep, unapologetic crimson. And tell the family jewelers to courier the Windsor diamond suite to my private suite at the St. Regis by tomorrow afternoon. Consider it done. And Carter's credit lines? Freeze them at 7:30, I said. Right when they're ordering their first bottle of Dom Perignon. By 8 the following morning, Carter had already left the house, leaving behind a scented post-it note on the kitchen counter. Took the safe box to the jeweler to be cleaned for Haley. Don't do anything stupid today. I left some grocery cash on the fridge. 3 crisp $100 bills sat beneath a magnet. I looked at those bills, picked them up, tossed them into the trash bin under the sink, and walked out the front door without looking back. My driver, Arthur, was already waiting at the curb in a midnight black Rolls-Royce Phantom. He stepped out, bowed slightly, and opened the rear door. Good morning, Miss Sterling, he said with practiced deference. To the St. Regis, Arthur, I said, sliding into the leather interior. And call Maya. Tell her my private office on the 45th floor of Sterling Capital is ready for her. She starts as my chief of staff today, with triple her old salary and full stock options. Right away, ma'am. When Carter had married me 3 years ago, he believed I was merely Sienna Miller, a clever, ambitious young project director from an upper-middle-class family who happened to have great business instincts. He didn't know that my legal name was Sienna Sterling Miller. He didn't know that the $3 million seed funding his startup received during its darkest month had not come from an anonymous angel investor. It had come from the Sterling Family Trust, funneled through a secondary venture holding company on the sole condition that Carter maintain a 70% equity control. Carter had insisted on a prenup before our wedding, puffing his chest out about protecting his life's work from gold diggers. I had signed it with a polite smile, because my family's legal team had drafted the clauses. The prenup was airtight. All individual premarital assets, intellectual property rights, and family inheritance remained strictly separate. In the event of infidelity or gross moral turpitude, the offending party forfeited all joint property and became immediately liable for any corporate bridge loans backed by the non-offending spouse's family assets. Carter had never read the fine print. He had simply looked at the clause stating, I couldn't claim half of his tech firm's shares in a standard no-fault divorce, signed his name with a golden Montblanc pen, and congratulated himself on outsmarting an heiress. At the St. Regis presidential suite, Maya was already waiting, wearing a sharp, tailored ivory suit. On the marble table sat 3 open leather portfolios, 2 armed security couriers from Graf, and a breathtaking masterpiece of jewelry, resting on black velvet. It wasn't my grandmother's emeralds. It was the Windsor Crimson Suite, a 54-carat unheated Burmese ruby necklace surrounded by 200 carats of flawless diamonds, accompanied by matching chandelier earrings and a custom platinum cuff. Sienna, Maya said, her eyes shining with fierce excitement as she handed me an iPad. Our forensic team spent the last 6 hours combing through Carter's corporate accounts. It's worse than we thought. Show me. I sat down, sipping a freshly brewed cappuccino. Over the last 4 months, Maya pointed to the digital ledgers, Carter has billed over $280,000 in luxury personal expenses to the company's client entertainment and retention account. He leased a penthouse in the Marina district under Haley's name, purchased 2 Hermès Birkin bags from a private dealer in Paris, and yesterday afternoon he authorized an emergency wire of $40,000 from the payroll reserve to buy Haley a bespoke Carolina Herrera gown for tonight's gala. And the Louboutin heels? I asked, my fingers tracing the rim of the porcelain cup. He used the corporate card for those too, Maya replied with a sharp smile. He marked them as executive safety footwear for field inspections. A soft, cold laugh escaped my throat. Executive safety footwear. How thoroughly creative. I closed the iPad. Have our corporate litigation team file the emergency injunction with the state Chancery Court at 5 o'clock. Freeze his operational accounts, subpoena Haley Miller's personal bank records for tax evasion on undeclared corporate gifts, and prepare the formal notice of loan recall for Sterling Capital's $20 million credit facility. And tonight? Maya asked, her eyes gleaming. Tonight, I said, looking at the breathtaking crimson rubies on the velvet stand, we let the clown perform his final act. The Grand Astor Ballroom in Manhattan was a fortress of limestone, towering Corinthian columns and sparkling crystal chandeliers. Outside, 100 flashbulbs illuminated the velvet ropes as high society socialites, international ambassadors, and Fortune 500 titans stepped out of their limousines. Carter's silver Maybach pulled up to the red carpet at precisely 7:15. He stepped out first, looking immaculate in a bespoke Tom Ford tuxedo, adjusting his onyx cufflinks with a rehearsed, camera-ready smile. Then with grand, chivalrous theater, he reached his hand back into the vehicle to help Haley out. Haley emerged like a peacock desperate for attention. She wore the $40,000 Carolina Herrera gown in electric royal blue, paired with the limited edition Christian Louboutin heels Carter had promised me. Around her neck hung my grandmother's vintage Cartier emerald necklace, its rich green stones clashing garishly against the bright blue silk of her dress. She gripped Carter's arm tightly, tossing her bleached blonde curls over her shoulder, batting her heavily lashed eyes at the press line. Mr. Vance. Over here. A society reporter shouted, waving a microphone. Is it true your firm just secured the secondary round of government logistics software contracts? Carter smiled charismatically into the lens. We are expanding rapidly, yes. And tonight, I'm proud to introduce our new Director of Public Communications, Miss Haley Miller, who will be spearheading our philanthropic initiatives. Haley giggled, leaning into his shoulder, lifting her foot slightly to ensure the red lacquered sole of her shoe caught the flashbulbs. I'm just so blessed to work with a visionary like Carter, Haley cooed into the microphone, her voice high and breathy. True leaders recognize talent no matter how young or bold you are. Some people are stuck in the past, but Carter is all about the future. Across the foyer, several high society matrons, women who had known my mother for 40 years, exchanged icy, disdainful glances behind their champagne flutes. Is that Margaret Sterling's emerald necklace? Lady Catherine whispered, adjusting her lorgnette with a sharp scowl. On a junior secretary? Disgusting. Mrs. Kensington muttered back. The boy has lost his mind. He thinks because he made a few million in software he can parade his mistress in old money heirlooms. Carter, oblivious to the quiet revulsion rippling through the old money circle, guided Haley toward the VIP cocktail terrace. See, Carter whispered in Haley's ear, squeezing her waist possessively. I told you I'd put you on the world stage. By tomorrow morning, your photo will be in vogue in town and country. Oh, Carter, Haley purred, running her fingers over the emeralds. You're so good to me. What about your wife? Isn't she sitting at home crying right now? Don't mention her name, Carter scoffed, signaling a waiter for 2 glasses of vintage champagne. She's probably in her pajamas, eating ice cream and wondering how she's going to survive without my paycheck. Let her wallow. Tonight is about us. He handed a black corporate card to the private sommelier at the terrace bar. Bottle of 2008 Cristal for table 4, please. The sommelier slid the card through the terminal. A high-pitched, metallic beep echoed over the bar. The sommelier tried again. Another harsh beep. The man looked up, his expression professional but completely devoid of warmth. I apologize, Mr. Vance. The transaction has been declined by the issuing institution. Carter chuckled dismissively, pulling a second card from his alligator wallet. Try this one. The bank must have flagged a temporary travel security hold. Beep. Declined as well, sir. Reason code. Account frozen by judicial injunction. Carter's smile froze. What did you say? Before the sommelier could answer, the heavy brass entrance doors of the Grand Astor swung wide open. The room fell dead silent. It wasn't a gradual quiet. It was the instant, breathless vacuum that occurs when true power enters a room. The master of ceremonies stepped to the gilded podium, his voice booming through the state-of-the-art acoustic system. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, please welcome our keynote benefactor, managing partner of Sterling Global Capital, and chairwoman of the Astor Foundation, Miss Sienna Sterling. Carter's breath hitched in his throat. His champagne glass slipped from his fingers, shattering violently against the parquet floor, sending golden liquid spraying across Haley's royal blue gown. Carter! Haley shrieked, jumping back. My dress! Carter didn't look at her. He couldn't look at her. His eyes were locked on the grand staircase. I walked down the steps with slow, regal grace. I wore a bespoke, off-the-shoulder gown of pure crimson velvet that flowed behind me like liquid fire, hugging every curve of my silhouette with devastating elegance. My dark hair was swept into an intricate, architectural updo, leaving my long, pale neck exposed to showcase the 54-carat Windsor rubies that blazed like stars under the crystal chandeliers. Beside me walked my brother, Julian Sterling, looking every inch the billionaire patriarch in a bespoke midnight navy tailcoat, flanked by 4 senior directors from the Federal Trade Commission and the governor's chief of staff. The elite crowd did not just look, they parted like the Red Sea, bowing and offering hushed, reverent greetings as I reached the marble floor. Sienna, darling. Lady Catherine stepped forward, kissing both of my cheeks with genuine warmth. You look magnificent. We were so worried when we heard you. We're dealing with minor domestic pests. Just routine pest control, Catherine. I smiled, my voice carrying effortlessly across the silent circle. It's taken care of now. Carter stood frozen 50 feet away, his face the color of curdled milk. His jaw worked soundlessly, his eyes bulging as he stared at the rubies at my throat, then at my brother, and finally at the governor's inner circle surrounding me, like a royal guard. Sienna? Carter rasped, taking 3 stumbling steps forward. What is this? What are you doing here? Haley hurried up behind him, clutching his arm, her face twisting into a sneer of desperate, unearned arrogance. Carter, who does she think she is? Haley hissed loudly, trying to assert herself in front of the cameras. Security. Why is this fired employee allowed in the VIP lounge? She's crashing the event to harass us. Lady Catherine turned slowly, looking down her nose at Haley as if she were a cockroach that had wandered onto a silk rug. Fired employee? Lady Catherine's aristocratic voice dripped with icy amusement. Young woman, this ballroom was built by Sienna's great-grandfather. Her family owns 60% of the commercial real estate on this island, including the building your pathetic little software company rents its offices from. Haley's mouth dropped open. She looked from Lady Catherine to Carter, her eyes wide with mounting panic. Carter, what is she talking about? You said your wife was a nobody from the suburbs. Carter didn't answer. A cold, suffocating terror had wrapped itself around his windpipe. He remembered the early days of his startup. He remembered how effortlessly I had secured meetings with venture capitalists that other founders spent years begging to see. He remembered how his bank loan had been approved within 24 hours without collateral. He had thought it was his genius. He had thought he was the golden boy of the tech sector. It was never him. It had always been me. I walked slowly toward them, the rhythmic click of my custom heels against the marble floor sounding like the ticking of a doomsday clock. Carter instinctively tried to step back, but the crowd of billionaires, board directors, and high court judges had formed an impenetrable circle behind him. There was nowhere to run. I stopped 3 feet from him. Up close, I could smell the cheap vanilla body spray Haley had drenched herself in, mixing unpleasantly with the sour stench of Carter's cold sweat. "Carter," I said softly, my voice smooth, calm, and completely devoid of warmth. "You wanted to show Haley the world tonight. How do you like the view?" "Sienna." Carter's voice cracked, a pathetic, pleading tremor breaking through his polished facade. "Please. Let's go to a private room. We can talk about this. There's been a misunderstanding." "There is no misunderstanding, Mr. Vance," a voice boomed from the edge of the circle. Arthur Pendleton, the senior managing partner of Sterling and Reed Litigation, stepped through the crowd, carrying a thick, red leather portfolio. "As of 6:30 this evening," Arthur announced, his voice carrying clearly to every reporter's microphone, "the Supreme Court of the State of New York has executed an emergency freeze on all personal and corporate assets belonging to Carter Vance, pending formal indictment for felony embezzlement, corporate tax fraud, and breach of fiduciary trust." "What?" Carter gasped, grabbing Arthur's lapel. "That's impossible. I am the CEO of Vance Technologies." "Not anymore," Arthur replied, peeling Carter's fingers off his suit with 2 fingers of disgust. "Sterling Capital has called in the $20 million convertible bond issued in 2021 due to your unauthorized transfer of corporate payroll funds to purchase luxury gifts for your mistress, amounting to $320,000. The emergency acceleration clause has been triggered." Arthur opened the folder, pulling out a stamped legal document. "Sterling Capital now holds 85% of the voting equity of Vance Technologies. By unanimous written consent of the majority shareholder executed at 4 o'clock today, Carter Vance has been removed from the board of directors and terminated from all executive positions with immediate effect." A collective gasp swept through the ballroom. Camera shutters exploded like rapid machine gun fire. Flashbulbs strobed against Carter's pale, sweating face, capturing every second of his absolute, catastrophic ruin. "No, no, no, no." Haley shrieked, backing away from Carter as if he had suddenly caught fire. "I didn't know. I didn't steal anything. Carter bought those things for me. He told me he was worth hundreds of millions. He promised me a penthouse. You didn't know?" I turned my gaze toward her, my eyes sweeping over her from head to toe. Haley shrank beneath my stare, her lip trembling, her hands flying to the emerald necklace around her neck. "2 weeks ago, Haley," I said, my voice cutting through the hall like a razor blade, "you posted on your public Snapchat that I was a bitter, jealous old woman who didn't deserve nice things. I took a step closer. You took my anniversary gift. You wore it on your feet. You posted photos in my husband's bed. And then you had the audacity to demand my grandmother's jewelry, so you wouldn't feel awkward among people whose shoes you aren't worthy to shine. Sienna, please." Haley sobbed, dropping to her knees on the marble floor, completely uncaring of the $40,000 dress soaking in spilled champagne. "I'll take it off. I'll give it back right now." Her trembling, manicured fingers fumbled frantically with the clasp of the emerald necklace. "Don't touch it," I said coldly. 2 uniformed female police officers, accompanied by Detective Marcus Vance from the Major Economic Crimes Unit, stepped through the velvet ropes. "Haley Miller," Detective Vance announced, pulling a pair of steel handcuffs from his belt. "You are being placed under arrest for receiving stolen property exceeding $250,000 and criminal conspiracy to commit guaid fraude." "No. Carter, help me," Haley screamed as the cold steel ratcheted tightly around her wrists. "Carter, tell them you gave it to me." Carter didn't even look at her. He was staring at me, his eyes wide, bloodshot, his hands shaking so violently. He dropped his phone on the floor. "Sienna." He dropped to both knees in front of my crimson gown, his head bowed, tears finally spilling over his cheeks. "I'm sorry. I was blind. I was an arrogant, ungrateful fool. I got seduced by the flattery. I forgot everything we built together. You're my wife, Sienna. We took vows. Forgive me, please give me one more chance." I looked down at the man I had loved for 3 years, the man whose laundry I had folded, whose business strategies I had ghostwritten, whose fragile ego I had protected while he secretly plotted to rob me blind. I felt no rage. I felt no heartbreak. I felt only the clean, exhilarating peace of absolute indifference. I reached into my evening clutch, pulled out the cheap brass keychain he had handed me on our anniversary, and let it drop onto the floor in front of his face. It landed with a tiny, pathetic clink against the marble. "Happy anniversary, Carter," I whispered. I turned on my heel, took my brother Julian's arm, and walked toward the head table beneath the glowing chandeliers, while security dragged the weeping, screaming remnants of my past out into the rainy New York night. The morning headlines were merciless. The Wall Street Journal ran a front-page exposé titled, "The Hollow Tycoon: How Carter Vance Embezzled from an Heiress to Fund His Secretary's Closet." Page 6 published high-resolution photographs of Haley Miller being hauled out of the Grand Astor in handcuffs, her royal blue dress smeared with dirty floor grime, while Carter groveled on his knees before my crimson gown. Within 48 hours, the destruction of Carter Vance was total. The forensic audit uncovered 6 separate counts of corporate tax evasion and fraudulent billing. The state prosecutor filed formal criminal charges, setting Carter's bail at $5 million, money he did not have because every personal bank account, brokerage portfolio, and luxury vehicle in his name had been seized as collateral against Sterling Capital's recalled loans. The penthouse in the Marina District was padlocked by the sheriff's office. All of Haley's luxury handbags, designer shoes, and jewelry, including the limited edition Christian Louboutin pumps, were seized by court-appointed liquidators and placed into an evidence locker to be auctioned off for corporate restitution. Haley spent 3 weeks in the Rose M. Singer Center at Rikers Island before her estranged parents in Ohio took out a second mortgage on their farm to post her reduced bail. When she was finally released, she discovered she had been completely, irreversibly blacklisted. No corporate PR firm, no marketing agency, not even a local retail boutique would touch her resume. Her social media accounts, once her proudest weapon, were flooded with millions of mocking comments, turning her into a national punchline for gold-digging incompetence. She ended up working the graveyard shift at an all-night diner in suburban New Jersey, wearing grease-stained polyester aprons, hiding her face behind a paper mask whenever customers walked through the door. Carter, meanwhile, avoided a prison sentence by agreeing to a complete, humiliating plea deal: 5 years of strict probation, 800 hours of community service, and a personal restitution judgment of $2 million. That would garnish 60% of any income he earned for the next 25 years. His name was stripped from the tech firm he had claimed to build. By unanimous shareholder decree, Vance Technologies was rebranded as Aegis Dynamic Systems, with Maya appointed as Executive Vice President of Operations, and me serving as chairwoman of the board. 3 months later, the spring rain tapped gently against the floor-to-ceiling windows of my corner office on the 68th floor of the Sterling Tower. The city skyline stretched out beneath me, bathed in the soft, gray light of an April afternoon. On my desk sat a stack of international logistics contracts, a fresh cup of Earl Grey tea, and a leather-bound document stamped with the final gold seal of the state Supreme Court. Decree of absolute divorce. Sienna Sterling versus Carter Vance. A knock sounded on the heavy mahogany door. Maya walked in, holding a slim leather tablet. "Sienna, the private security desk downstairs just called." I didn't look up from my signing ledger. "Is he still there?" "He's been standing on the sidewalk outside the main lobby since 7 this morning," Maya replied, her tone laced with quiet disgust. "It's pouring rain. He's wearing an old trench coat and holding a bouquet of white roses." I signed the final page of the contract, set my Mont Blanc pen down, and walked over to the panoramic window. I looked down 68 stories. On the wide granite plaza below, among the sea of black umbrellas moving briskly along Fifth Avenue, a single solitary figure stood by the revolving doors. He was soaked to the bone, his shoulders hunched, his head bowed, clutching a soggy, drooping bunch of flowers against his chest like a beggar waiting for scraps from a palace window. He looked so small, so utterly, pathetically insignificant. I remembered the girl who had spent 3 years cooking his favorite meals, nursing his headaches, walking on eggshells so his delicate ego wouldn't bruise, and crying in the dark because a pair of shoes had been given to another woman. That girl didn't exist anymore. She had died the moment she realized that love without self-respect is just a slow, willing execution. My phone buzzed on the marble desk. A notification from the building concierge popped up. "Mr. Carter Vance is requesting 2 minutes of your time. He says he just wants to give you your anniversary flowers." I picked up the phone. I didn't type a paragraph. I didn't send an insult. I tapped the screen twice, sent 2 simple words to the front desk, and turned my back on the window. "Clear the sidewalk." Outside, 2 burly security guards in dark suits stepped out into the rain, took the flowers from his trembling hands, tossed them into the curbside trash bin, and firmly escorted the broken man off the property. Inside, the room was warm, the tea was fragrant, and the empire was mine. I sat back down at my desk, picked up my pen, and began writing the next chapter of my life.